I mean, we're live here with the Mac, and while Jake pulls up the deck, we were asking everyone what they had for breakfast. A very important topic, and it leads us into marketing. And part of marketing is the ability to improvise.
Yes.
I'm trying to teach my students that. And we led with a very interesting conversation. We have Erez Levin. Is that how you say it? Erez Levin.
Yeah.
Erez.
Okay. And he's here. He's new to us, but true to us. And he joined us and didn't know us from a hole in the wall. He knows Jake, but we just started talking about cereal. And Michael said he had some Cheerios for breakfast. Moni doesn't believe in breakfast. I think I missed. Jake, what did you say you had?
Well, we never even asked me. But Zach said something really interesting. I'm actually having a smoothie, which is it's like 40 blueberries. But Zach said something, part of a nutritious breakfast. Now, I want Zach to go off about that tagline and why he thought that was off, because I think it's a great way to get into this. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Zach, go.
Well, I grew up in the 80s, and I was a kid in the 80s. And
here we go.
I actually was raised by hippies and wasn't allowed to have television.
There you go.
But when I'd visit my grandmother, I got all the television I ever wanted. And it was pretty amazing. It was the rise of the breakfast cereal movement in a tremendous way. Kids were totally sold on all sorts of, sugar-laden, crazy junk food cereals.
Love it.
They got away with it, presenting it as a healthy breakfast choice. Is they would put it next to some eggs and some fruit and a glass of milk or orange juice or something.
Yes.
Part of this nutritious breakfast, and that turned into just a way to trick people to be like, oh yeah, tricks, that's healthy for my kid. Count Chocula, that's going to be healthy. It's part of a nutritious breakfast.
So yeah, part of the nutritious breakfast. And one of the things that I was always had a problem with is they show you the bowl of cereal, they show you the glass of milk. No, they show you a glass of orange juice, and then they show you an additional glass of milk. Do you remember seeing this?
No.
And I was like, why is there more milk here? The cereal has the milk. We have orange juice, more milk, because the way they round out the nutrition was the nutrition inside of the milk. And so they were part of this, but it isn't that. But if you have it with this, and that's all good, but actually what you also need is put some eggs in there and put some berries. And then people are getting lawsuits against them for putting fake berry pictures on the cereal, and then mean consumers. And now we're back to truth in advertising.
Are those the same people suing Burger King for false advertising right now?
Right. Remember, we were upset that the burgers didn't look the same, but actually we just accepted the slop. Erez, what were you going to say?
Do you think the glass of milk was a paid placement by Big Milk?
Oh, come on. It's too early because yeah. Yeah.
They're in cahoots, obviously, the milk and Big Cereal.
Yes, Big Milk.
Right, well,
Big
yeah.
Cereal.
I mean,
and Big Spoon. Like the spoon industry came up and they scooped up a lot of smaller teaspoon businesses, and then they're run by one giant ladle. Now listen, let's get to what we have to do. We have to talk about it. But if you had breakfast and you want to talk about it, message us live. The phone number, Jay, what is the phone number?
212-545 MAC1.
Don't do it. Oh my God. You just made up a number. So call that number.
So call that number.
And then, okay, so I wanted to get to a couple things. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I saw the news today. Oh boy, there was only just a couple things because there's just so much. But what I wanted to do is start off with this heady stuff from Kerry Cunningham, where he was, and this is all gonna tie together. Freeloaders in attribution. He talked about this thing called the freeloading bystander problem. And he said that campaign you just celebrated for all the pipeline it created, it didn't. It just happened to be there when the buyer raised their hand. And then he says in the latest piece, he's looking at current attribution models and how they mislead us and overvalue immediate response tactics and undervalue the foundational work done months and quarters prior. And I was like, oh my God, because here I am saying like that was really creative. I shared something so creative. People loved it. Was it the creativity that did it, or was it just because somebody raised their hand at that moment with it? Oh my God. So I sort of kind of synthesized it It's like a marketing tactic that appears to drive results, but simply because it was running at the same time of conversion, not because it caused the demand. And I was like, oh man, this is messy.
There's another term for that. It's called accidental tourist.
Accidental tourist. Talk about it, Michael. Here. Wait. Let's get away. Share screens. Look at people. Stop sharing.
Oh,
Michael
here.
Munson. Discuss. Accidental tourist. Wasn't that just a movie?
I don't think I ever saw it, but I'm familiar with the term. I use it all the time. It's basically outcome without intention. Just the random nature of the world combining to put you in a position where you found something that wouldn't have otherwise found, and you usually, when you say that, it's something that you like or you appreciate or somehow resonates with you, or you kind of think of it as serendipity, like something good happened and it wasn't planned, or you discovered something by total accident.
And what's interesting is we believe that as people. We're like, just serendipity. It was just love at first. And you just knew. But as marketers, we're like, what the? We got to track it down. Moni, what do you think about this? What do you think about freeloading bystanders? What do you think about that campaign what's your thoughts?
To me, this is what we preach what I do. It's the essence of marketing, right? It's like you have to do the work before. The click and stuff is a result of good marketing, not marketing itself, right? So we chase these metrics as marketing, but we don't do the work to get the click. Yeah, no, this is
or that click isn't quite what you think it is. It's the result of things that you did before this, and it's
not what you think it means. To our conversation the other day about like the like button and stuff like that, like it's not what you think it means.
I know we beat the topic to death. At least I do.
Okay.
Just the Nutter Butter example.
Yeah.
Oh, the unhinged Nutter Butter example.
They could be thinking that, oh well, the weird is what drove the sale, right? But it could have just been reminding people, oh yeah, I like Nutter Butter, and they've already known about it, and they knew it because of those core Ogilvy principles, right?
And that's where my mind shut off, because I was like, I'm Mr. Idea Man. I'm a creativity parade. Like, you just hired a maitre d' with a balloon float parade. Here I come. And then I do this creative idea. And I'm sure it works. But was it me? It could have been a legacy that I just wasn't aware of. And then long term, are you going to continue to be this creative, Zach, talk to me about this, like creativity. They're like, I want that cutting edge shit. I want that next gen creativity. And then you're like, all right, so we'll get there. Then what? Next gen creativity. And you're like, okay, cool. And then what? It's got to kind of go up, I guess, forever. Like, what do you think about, like, what do you think about creativity working off of the assets of brand activity? And then also, is there this way that you can just be this continued maverick creative person forever?
Well, for me, it all comes down to doing the foundational work in the beginning, and doing a really strong discovery process. I feel like if you just get started on creativity without building the structure and the plan and the strategy around it beforehand, you're just throwing darts in the dark. If you don't define that target in the beginning, you're throwing darts in the dark. And so the discovery process is often kind of overlooked or rushed through. And I think good researched work that's not only qualitative but also quantitative but also qualitative, and it actually resonates. And it comes down to the fundamental, which is authenticity. Carpetbaggers are they're not focusing on authenticity; they're just focusing on following the herd.
Or they're focused on being a dynamic person that's going next level, and you don't even know. It's like there's a little bit of both, because I'm saying, like, this freeloading bystander problem means that you may be next level in your creativity, or you may be able to persist and still, like, I don't know what it says for creativity. It's like, is creativity actual? Go, Moni.
Is it a one-to-one? I feel like that's the other thing that we do with the audience. It's like I see something and I have to instantly react to it. When the majority of the time it's like, I like it, it's nice, but it doesn't require a reaction. Social media has programmed us to think that because I put something out, I have to then get a response to it. Most information in general is passively consumed. So the audience is just being the audience. We need to.
I'm gonna just interject. I took over the screen, and I'm gonna play a little video.
Here we go.
What is very popular today, according to my children, and I tested this with my some other kids their age, and they went ape shit for this. Has anyone heard of Italian brain rot?
No. Is this these are pre-teens?
Tralalelo Tralala is A tier. His shoes are fire, but in combat, he doesn't quite match his rival Bombardio Crocodillo, D tier. This dude is way too overrated just because he's powerful. Bombardio Crocodillo never had to work for any of his strength, unlike Tung 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 Sahur, who easily gets S tier. Not only does he have the hardest name, the coldest baseball bat, but those who know his backstory understand his pain. He carries the baseball bat of his dead father, defending the village from invaders such as Chimpanzini Bambanini, F tier. After murdering the forest oracle Berber Patapim, God rest his soul, Chimpanzini Bambanini aimlessly roams the forest seeking power. And finally, La Rili La 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 gets S tier because he's cool. Italian.
Okay, so as we talk about all this stuff, as we talk about Nutter Butter,
and then we're going to be getting into quality, because I think what I just saw was
what I don't know what you just saw, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, what the hell was that? I think
unfortunately, my brain works at a clip where I followed all of that.
You did? What? Jake, explain it to us, please.
It's a self-referential loop. Isn't it funny that it's funny, that I'm being funny, that this is funny, because this is a funny thing. And so it's like humor works when something tragic or expected in this direction is met with this. But if something is in a recursive, like absurd loop, it just exists to keep referring to itself as existing to itself, as this is so funny. And so if you don't think it's going anywhere and it just stays in the tidal pool, a waterfall goes down and then it's one of these, they just stay in here. And if you just don't expect to go anywhere, it's a fun ride. But they're just having fun, making fun, and you can hear them laughing. But then you're like, where is it? I don't know. Maybe
it's very silly, and it's for like kids that are 13, 14, and these are the same people that are watching the Minecraft movie and throwing up popcorn when they say lava, chicken lava, whatever they say. I
won't know the semiotics of this generation, and I'm going to be okay with that. Zach,
when I was 13 or 14, I knew every Monty Python movie by heart.
There you go.
Right, and honestly, for me, this is just another sad piece of confirmation that we are heading towards idiocracy.
Oh, you don't want them to have fun of Chimpanzini because that was
the level of like
I feel like I'm already in it.
Oh, it's happening. Absolutely.
Welcome to it.
Rewatch the film. We're living in idiocracy.
But imagine all of our parents.
No, I get what Jake is saying.
What? Go ahead, Moni.
Yeah, I get what you just said.
Moni,
like it's like, so there's the trend of like ranking things in social media, like all the tiers.
Oh yeah.
And then there are like and then there's the funny name thing that we do. We like alliteration thing, right? And like they're taking these elements and, like Jake said, just looping the ridiculousness of it in its own comedy, right? And it's their culture, right? Our parents did this to us. They looked at the stuff we looked at and was like, we're done. We're doomed. It's over.
Ren and Stimpy is.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy. That was pretty.
We did all of the same. We just had different content, different technology, different everything. My question is, are these kids today going to outgrow this? And maybe not. I would say yes, but there are signs that maybe not, or maybe not as much as I'd like to say we did.
I was reacting to Zach talking about all this strategy stuff, when I shared that. That was what got me to share it. And the reason why I shared it was what seems to be happening is that advertising is mimicking this silliness, a la Nutter Butter, and like, you know, so I saw an ad for Expedia where some guy sucks up like lint from the floor like a vacuum. Like, what the hell was that?
I just saw an ad today for Dr. Squatch soap where a person makes a beet bath and sits inside of it and tries to dye his skin. And
it was the who started the puppy monkey baby or something.
That's
was that a Dorito?
Mountain Dew.
Which one?
It was for their breakfast.
Yeah,
breakfast
I feel
beverage.
like they that was like a watershed moment where now ads are just going to be as ridiculous as possible, and
do they work? And then we could come back to the freeloading bystander problem and say Michael made a really eloquent observation. Was like, you know, that might be getting it, but you might be working off a legacy, cashing checks that you didn't write, enjoying the shade of a tree you didn't grow, acting like a goddamn dumbass under there. And this is coming from Captain Dumbass himself. Oh my God, I want to be so dumb.
I think comedy that's stupid for stupid's sake is great. There's a wonderful place for that. Ren and Stimpy's a great example. Dumb and Dumber. There's plenty of Geico commercials were the ones that really brought that into marketing.
Humor is
and like there's strength in that. You know, what's interesting about that video that you shared though is there's a new demographic of consumers that are bubbling up, and it's a lot of the kids that grew up in COVID that were isolated that got into gaming, either video gaming or board gaming. I know there's one of the more successful stores here in my town is the game shop. It's blowing up. Gamers are all over the place, and they're actually going to be doing a gaming expo this fall here for just nothing but people doing like cosplay and gaming stuff. And so take a silly video and then apply it into that gamified kind of ranking system. Seems like it can resonate with that audience that just, you know, that's what they learned through that isolation.
And I would say in some weird way, the people who grew up gaming now are in charge of digital advertising, and they're putting our coins through their filthy little slots. They're telling us what level we're on, what difficulty settings we can do, how we can move around the board. It isn't Skyrim. It's something owned by Mark Zuckerberg. It's the metaverse. Here, I want to go to one.
They're Bitcoins, not real coins, Jake.
Ew, you dirty little Bitcoins. Here, look at this.
If I can share one thing that I pulled up related to to it's not sharing. Come on, you share it. There.
Oh, you want to share it? Okay.
Share it.
Yeah. So this is I looked at this space for a long time, and I was in the performance or sort of attribution world. The world is going to change really quickly. So the way that I look at it, when we were in this broadcast era, most advertising was upper funnel awareness driving, because you couldn't really do that much quote unquote direct response. When we moved into this quote unquote precision era, the last 20 years in digital, most media, if it could be tied to an outcome of some sorts, whether it was incremental or not, whether it was actually just because of that bystander attribution sort of fallacy, it got more money. We saw money move towards search and these other digital channels because they were able to prove, quote unquote, the outcome. What I believe is going to happen as we sort of leave that era, as we lose cookies, the ability to do some of that, quote unquote, deterministic attribution, we're going to see a rise again of upper funnel awareness driving media. And what I do think is I'm sort of betting on those channels that have been a little bit sidelined for a while, including TV and CTV and radio and things like that. I think they're going to come back. And I think there's going to be some really interesting players that can do interesting sort of tie-in, right? Connecting the awareness to the purchase, not the way that cookies did, but with more sort of sound methodologies, looking at, groups of people, not necessarily individuals and their purchase, behaviors.
Yeah, I fully agree with this. And
I agree
this
too.
is a very well articulated illustration of something I've been thinking about as well. And what I'm noticing happening is, I am a big fan of old school radio, but it's starting to feel like Spotify and YouTube feel like I'm listening to old school radio now with the interruptions. Unless I pay for the premium, you're getting ad breaks that feel like old school radio now.
Oh my gosh!
For sure.
Sure, and then you, but with those, you could, in theory, they could be more targeted, right? But they don't feel that way to me.
You know, we had this conversation this week with the Vessel Collective, this other group that we put together, and we've been doing a similar format as far as choosing topics and talking about them in this group and creating content from them. And one of the things that came up this is that, you know, as you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, the feed is just getting more and more packed with AI images and things that are trying to look real, movie posters that aren't real, things that you think. It's getting so much. It's reminding me of the clickbait wave when clickbait was the big thing, right? And I have a feeling that what's going to happen, in fact, I believe that what's going to happen is we're going to hit an AI fatigue point where people are going to start craving real, live, old school, actual, you know, analog design. And we've been saying, you know, don't forget how to shoot your camera, folks. Don't forget how to work in Photoshop and Illustrator, because you know, there may be a return to people that actually appreciate and want old school, traditional, actual.
Well, and words too. I mean, like people are all the time telling, you know, Jake is the biggest one. He's like, you know, this feels like it's written by AI. And, you know, people, the younger generation is detecting that. If you have those green check marks in your writing, people glaze over.
Yep.
No one ever dives or delves as much as that fucking thing. But this is very interesting. So I just wanted to, because you just said there's going to be a rise, there's going to be a thing. Erez said something interesting. Are they going to grow out of this? We're talking about quality stuff. We're talking about analytic prowess. What you were talking about was the awareness and the prediction and these different models that are going to come. And what are people using? One of the news items that I want to get, before I introduce this person who just eloquently said something so beautiful, Erez Levin, thank you, God. Thank you for being here. But I wanted to say, in 2025, the number one use case for AI is therapy, personal support. That has gone down from 17% to 31%. So it's like this massive increase in these things. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And of course, that's all bad and whatever. And I was like, oh, is ChatGPT HIPAA compliant? It is not. So when you actually might put some of your mental health information, it is zeroly not protected at all. So, and everyone's like, but it makes me feel less lonely. Well, listen, man, that's fine, but your shit is not safe. And somebody's like, oh, I'm just going to give everyone my secrets and the divorce details from my wife. And everybody are saying this thing saved my relationship. Wait until it breaks it. The point is, when I saw this, I was like, wait. What is all the research that's been done in AI? What is the quality of this stuff? The estimated distribution of research in AI, only 10% of the total of this examined portion. Only 10% is on therapy. We don't have any evidence from therapists or the researchers on what the impact of this is, and everybody's skipping over the therapists and the scientists who should be researching this and doing their own therapy and science and research. So I was like, oh my God. And then also we're sold that it is, look at this, technical assistance. We have done tons of research.
Sharing your screen? You're not sharing your screen.
Yeah, you're having that share your screen problem.
You assholes!
I was mesmerized. You were good. You're so animated. We don't need a screen share.
We don't need a screen.
You little.
17 to 31%, or vice versa.
Listen, did you feel it? Did you? Because those numbers just made sense everywhere at once. Friends, can you see my screen?
Nope.
No.
You can.
Now we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was Jay's fault.
No, you had this little thing
Jay.
saying you had to screen.
Okay,
I will not take the blame.
I'm going to ChatGPT figure out who to blame. I'll come back.
The new guy.
The new guy. So here, I'm sorry, friends. Look at over here on the left, 2025. The top use cases for this is it's gone from 2024, 17% personal support. That's the therapy component. It's gone up to 31%. So that's like double. And then all the other things that we have. So then I said, What is the amount of research that we've done in here? It's only 10% of this selected cohort, which is just these selections. So the actual use cases go all the way down to 100. And a lot of the stuff that marketers are endlessly talking about is down at like 70. I'm not playing. But the top one is therapy. The top one is companionship. The top one is loneliness, support. I just need to think differently about this. Hey, pump me up. Let me say something. Okay, that's fine. 10% of the research is only on therapy. All of the majority of research is on technical assistance, research and analysis. And then go back to this graph over here. Research and analysis use cases are 10% in 2024. They're 9% in 2025. People are using it less for research analysis. Okay, what are they also? They're using it less for technical assistance and troubleshooting. Everyone's like, AI is going to help us solve a lot of these problems. Not if you continue to use it like this and we're doing research that's imbalanced to the actual use cases. Because, as I just posted out, the number one request to Alexa is not, how do I find Clorox bleach? How can I shop better? It's, what is it, Moni?
Yeah.
No, the number one, Alexa.
Oh,
You remember?
no.
We were talking about it earlier.
Oh,
But the
okay.
number one request for Alexa smart controls.
Play music.
No, the
What's the
number one
weather?
request is insult me.
Oh, come on.
As reported by Amazon,
Would
the
never
number
guess that.
one request Alexa gets is insult me. So people are wondering, are we going to grow out of it? Are we going to like grow? People are going to show,
Yeah,
we're going to
told you.
I don't know, man.
With the
Jake,
therapy, I just
The
want
one,
to ask
the
one.
one.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jay.
go ahead. You go.
No, just that data. The one thing I'm curious about is I'm curious what the line is between professional support and content creation and editing, because I think people are blurring the lines a little bit in those two things.
One of the things, it was learning, education, and research were sort of separated. And I was like, And troubleshooting could be a professional support. So it's a mess. It's a bit of a jumble, but self-reported usage of AI is going towards personal support, therapy. But is that true? Or is that just what we're being told? And then, so I just wanted to put that out there.
I have some anecdotal
Yeah,
support for that notion. Like I do know a few people who have said that they use it for in a therapy or emotional support sense.
Me too.
I can definitely see it for people. I feel like, to our point, I mean, this is a whole other larger topic of conversation about the state of mental health in our country and there is support, there is awareness and support for it, but not really. I feel like a lot of it is lip service, and there isn't structural institution. There we go. There isn't like an institutional support for it. There's still like a capitalist. Yes. If you want to pay for better help or whatever the hell, whatever.
Right.
There isn't the government assisted. Here's the free health, mental health thing that you can do.
Right.
I want to bring up. Oh, sorry. I want to bring up one thing. Isn't this what we were talking about last week? Where I forgot the term that was used, but that
sycophancy.
Yes, this whole idea that whatever you say to AI, it's going to come back and blow smoke up your ass and compliment you. So no matter what your situation is, whether it's here or here, AI is going to agree with you, and that is extremely unhealtty.
Or you can tell it to disagree with you, and it will.
Well, yeah, but most people aren't doing that.
Well, but the problem is that you can tell it how you want to interact with it, and they're like, "Isn't that great?" And you're like, "No." Wait, have you ever gone to Panera? Have you ever ordered a fucking sandwich? Who are these assholes?
What happens when I write a Mac article? Like when I write a Mac article, I'd say, it comes back with some bullshit marketing, and I'm like, this is not my point. And then I go back and I have to fight with it to get.
Well, you have to massage its shoulders, and it's like, okay, Erez, give me a shot, and then I'm going to introduce you formally.
All right. Yeah, no, the one thing that I think about this, and like these are big challenges for society and adults, but it's a much bigger problem as we talk about kids. I think a lot about sort of how this technology affects kids, Their brains are still growing. They need to, I believe, develop thicker skins. So if they mostly have AI friends that are blowing smoke up their ass and not sort of making them stronger and better and tougher and taking some, tough criticism, we're not in a good space. So
I know.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, 100%. And
and then
the consequences of what you're talking about with my children.
Is it possible that insult me could qualify as therapy for some people?
I think it could actually be
Or a
just
kink.
give me a playful burn, or let's see how jokey you can be. It could be. It might not be a sadomasochistic thing. It could just be a little like.
I'm curious now. I'm going to ask it after this.
Yeah.
They like to make fart sounds and stuff.
I mean,
but
just
the point is,
look at how hardcore the roasts have gotten these days. They are brutal to each other, and people love them.
And well, because maybe it's a nice venue for people to give that radical candor that no one likes to hear. And also that we know that great, strong relationships are built on these things. And then also here, have this bot that you can tell it how you want it to tell you, how you want it to tell you.
That's the scary thing though, Jake, that you said, because that's the thing with like a roast or even like, insulting. That's done with friends, hopefully people that you trust, not strangers. And if you're building those kind of bonds with an AI, that's what makes it
wow, right.
Yeah.
Yes, because then it is sort of a recognition of
the therapy and the thing, it's these personal level. You're supposed to be doing that with humans, and we're replacing that with the AI.
And so I think we're disempowered because we don't have these things. And just like what you said, Moni, is the infrastructures and institutional support and maybe community networks and social things that we had are kind of drying up, and they're a bit patchy in certain spots. But I wanted to say, as I was going and I was making this up, I was like, oh, the antidote is what we're doing right now. Just allowing us to have an hour to sit down with some strange friends and meet some new people and just discuss things and maybe ask some questions and sit there. And honestly, you don't have to do more than this. You don't have to take a 10x thing. You don't have to buy this timeshare because someone has to buy this timeshare, right, Jay? Somebody's bought. I need to sell it. Okay, but the point is, I'm not trying to sell you people anything. We can just have a good time and talk. And if we have more of this, maybe we can have less of the I need to prompt in private.
Well, that's kind of an irony of this whole situation, right? You have this data that you're citing where people are looking for the technology, the machine, to fill some void that their human relationships aren't providing. And then at the same time, how many people are here?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, we are these people. We are networkers. We are connector people. So just like you, Zach, like I have other communities that I'm involved in. That's through a freaking event yesterday at the headquarters of NBC.
That looked amazing.
It was amazing. Do you know how hard it was to get people the fuck out of the house to come to that event? It's NB fucking, yeah, exactly. It was hard.
And I'm playing live music, and you'd be surprised. I mean, they show up, but it's hard.
It's hard.
The talent buyer for a music venue here in Santa Rosa. I book 8 shows a month, and attend a lot of them. So gathering people in real world 3D actual interaction is a big part of my life, and I'm a DJ, so that's.
I know. Well, but let's support these things, and let's give our time and patience to the man who I invited here because he has the skills. I'm gonna share. I think. Watch what happens. Jay, give me control. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Look at this guy, okay, and you're gonna be able to see him. But I have to introduce him. I've had numerous conversations with him over the years. 13 years at Google, worked in all of these different roles as a data transformation lead, product specialist, account executive. Now he's consulting, and he's staking it all on quality. I'll have my questions put to the side, but maybe you, Jay, can you give me some full screen, Erez.
For full screen Erez. That's what I'm going to do right now. He's going to get solo layouts.
Go, buddy. Okay, now, man, you are here. We are in the
stage.
We're here. We're looking at your Roadhouse background. we're not going to go over the Jake Gyllenhaal reboot. Oh, he's spoiling for a fight. Erez, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then jump into why this quality and where you're at.
Yeah, so ignore like all of the buzzy-ish words of like the labels and titles that I had. I was at Google for a very long time. Please don't hold it against me.
No.
I basically, the last decade that I was there, I sat, I think, in the epicenter of the programmatic and sort of digital landscape as it was evolving. I really sat right in between supply and demand, all the ecosystem partners that plugged into Google, all the advertisers, our product teams. And what I saw and what I was trying to do was essentially plug holes, look around corners, see how things were changing. And I was doing it successfully. And I think in hindsight, what I sort of diagnosed, like what I was doing is the landscape, the media landscape was changing, how people were consuming media, where they were consuming media, how publishers and content creators were putting out media and ads to monetize that changed rapidly. New formats and new environments and new devices. The buy side advertisers and their agencies and everyone else kind of got lazy. They didn't really update how they were buying and measuring the value of media. And so they used simple metrics, viewability and attributed conversions from cookies to basically say like, that was media was good and that media was not. And so we had this sort of race to the bottom as ever lower quality of media could basically check some boxes on vanity metrics. That's how I got into the space of like attention-based measurement, which is really just a form of placement quality and quality in general, to basically say not all impressions are created equal, not all reach is created equal, and then helping advertisers decide what the relative value of that media is. So as long as they were paying not the same amount for really low quality and high quality, they would do better. They would do well and probably better than their competitors if their competitors were, paying for really crappy media.
Oh my God. So here I'm thinking there was a bit of an imbalance in between the rapid pace. I'm just like, what is it called when there's more people who have more knowledge about supplying?
Information asymmetry.
God, that's exactly right. And so there's a curtain here that we've been sort of happy. Why haven't we wanted to pull the curtain back?
The truism that I like to share is the author was talking about journalism as a profession, but when I read it, I said this is for advertising too.
Yes, this is a good one.
If you want to get really rich in this industry, lie to people who want to be lied to. And if you want to make a living, tell the truth to people who want to hear the truth. And if you want to be poor, tell the truth to people who want to be lied to. So the incentives were not aligned. There's the money is being spent.
Yeah,
that's the story of what we're doing here.
I think
of American politics.
everybody.
Are we ever going to be able to make money at helping people to be ethical marketers?
Yes. Do you want me to tell you how?
Yes, please.
Well, that would be cool.
All right, fine. I have all the secrets.
Are you selling us a timeshare?
No, but I can. If you have one, I can take it off your hands.
Oh my God, you're that guy. Okay, I see you.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you. There's so much to share with you. Sort of one aspect of what I think is going to help change the ecosystem and why I think we're sort of on our way. Sorry, this is loading very slowly. So you've all seen these 6 different video ads in your life. Probably today you've seen one of each of these video ads while you're consuming content on the web. I sent out a little survey, a little form, this years ago, asking folks to give me a score, rank these ads between 0 and 10, not rank them, rate them. Give me a score between 0 and 10 for each one of them. For what a video ad does. No one's clicking on a video ad. This is for mental availability, for brand awareness. Obviously, the numbers I got were it's just directional. But I think the averages are pretty powerful here. And so you can see these rank from the ad number 1, really small ad in the bottom, corner. It's muted. Got a low score, 1.8, not 0, but low. You have this sort of medium on their phone, and then you have these other ones that are sort of higher. What I saw over the years is, and this is true, just the ad spend, especially in the digital world, ad spend shifted towards that ad number one, right? It started from nothing. I saw it when it first started, and ad spend started moving towards that ad number one. And to the extent where now it's probably 20, 30, 40% of all video ad spend is going to something that looks like that ad number one. You're on a recipe site, you're on a news site, that little ad is following you. Now, my argument is that's not actually the problem. The problem is not the amount of spend. The problem was that advertisers are paying the same CPM for every single one of these ads. The reason being that they value these ads with vanity metrics that say these are all worth the same. The systems and the metrics, so it's a viewability, it's a completed view, or it's a view through conversion. And so they're paying that same amount. And so that was really the issue. And that was sort of the story that I first got into, is still the same attention metrics, quality metrics. Start to think about other qualitative dimensions. How long is the ad on the screen? How big is the ad compared to the rest of the screen? Is the sound on or off? And then you can say, these are worth different amounts. And you can start to assign relative value to them. That's the story of sort of attention metrics and placement quality. Now there's one extra story here, because I told this story for a long time, and going back to that truism, most people didn't care. They spent their budgets, hit their metrics. No one was looking to like be the hero for the most part. What happened a few years ago, if some of you are familiar, you see that there's words on here, outstream and in-stream. There's two kinds of video, broadly speaking, video ads. In-stream, like TV once upon a time, like YouTube, you're watching video content and you see an ad, pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll in the stream. The other kind is outstream. Outstream is everything that isn't in-stream. You're reading an article and there's an ad. You're asking for Wi-Fi at the airport. You're playing a game. Anywhere video shows up where you're not watching video is an outstream ad. Now, the IAB had a definition for in-stream and outstream. Unfortunately, that definition sort of outlived itself. It had a little window. It was a little too vague. It said, oh, to be in-stream, it has to be in a stream of content. So that ad number one, as long as you could play content after that ad, you could call it in-stream and you could get away with it. And the vast majority of publishers did just that. Slowly but surely, all of them, all of the intermediaries, all of the ad exchanges, and all the publishers started to do that because the CPM was 3 times higher when you called it in-stream versus outstream, because advertisers just want the in-stream content, or at least are willing to pay more for it. Wow. So 2 years ago, I went to the IAB. They had a working group. They were working on new guidelines and new definitions. And I went into that working group. I got in there and I said, hey, guys, this standard needs to be changed. That definition needs to be changed. They said they were open to it. And I suggested the revision where now to be in stream, the sound has to be on. Right? It makes sense. If you're watching video content, you're probably watching with the sound on. And so that seemed like a reasonable requirement to sort of call something in stream. They accepted it, and that got sort of passed in a new standard. It's a little bit like murky because they had a new signal, and so to allow for a transition period. Long story short, most of the industry has not adopted this new standard. Some people have, and they've mostly lost money, unfortunately. It's one of those like first mover disadvantage. Some big players, allegedly Google being the biggest one from data I've seen, still have not adopted this. So they are still making my previous employer. Yep. The reason I am a former employee, probably. And so the long story short, they are, in my opinion, this is fraud. Like people can be like, oh, there's a second signal. They're sending it accurate here. No, it's fraud. Like buyers are buying this. They're overpaying for it. They think they're buying in stream and they're getting something that isn't what they thought it was. It is fraud. I think this will not last long. It can't last forever. There's already pressure. There's heat. It eventually is going to change. And when that does change, that's my theory of change for this industry, is it's going to cause a huge supply crunch. Latest numbers I saw, 70% of all of the quote unquote in-stream in the market is actually that outstream ad. Whoa. When that goes away, what happens when the supply goes down by 70%? The only example I found in real life where supply of a good goes down that much was the oil embargo that the U.S. faced.
So when you say your ad score, basically the 1.8 basically means that people who you surveyed no one looks at this and says, I want to buy this product. No one is actually quote unquote converting and saying, oh, this is a
That's a good point. They're just talking about the context of the placement of the
placement. So,
but what I'm saying is, like, does it, like, as an advertiser, let's say your metric was if someone bought your product, and then they don't end up buying your product, then companies go out of business because people aren't buying their product, right?
In theory, yes. The challenge here is, so advertising, it's a game of, it's almost like as long as every auto manufacturer, right? These are all auto ads. As long as every auto manufacturer is doing this, like, they kind of reach a like steady state. Then it's just like however much market share they have and good ads that they're buying. So they're all wasting money, but they're wasting money equally. So no one is gaining on the others.
Well, but also there is signaling theory. Rory Sutherland has talked about this too. A lot of the wastage in advertising is the reason, because you're showing that you can flex your name around in all these little places, and people are like, they must be worth it because they're strong signals I see everywhere. And so
Super Bowl ads.
Right. And some people are like, but that's exactly what it is. It's semiotics. You're just signaling.
Yeah.
So there is, but if you have to measure that waste appropriately,
pay less. Though the point was pay less. It's worth, relative to the big ad with the sound on, it's worth maybe 1/5.
I know what this is like. I worked at a big company, and I know what buying media was like. And at the time I worked there 10, 15 years ago, you got a PowerPoint that said you're going to do a big placement here with Condé Nast, and it's going to go here and there and everything. And then you're going to do something with Outbrain. Then you're going to do something with Media Math. Then you're going to do this. And it was just one page. The people like me were given no visibility into where and how the ad showed up. And if they were, it was like, oh, it will show up on New York Times and this and that and the other thing. But that was Remnant media on New York Times, which is a big difference from like a planned campaign, right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
I'm sorry, didn't want to interrupt your answer to his question, but I have another question.
So you're absolutely right, Jay. The thing for me, and I've asked hundreds of marketers, I said, do you buy Outstream? And they say no. They don't want. The big difference is the sound is off. It's such a massive change. What if your entire ads message is in the voiceover?
But I'm not saying you
should.
If Moni had to peace out. Okay, if a really hot person asked you, do you eat free range chicken? You'd be like, oh yeah. You don't fucking know what kind of chicken you're eating. You're just eating some Tyson brand ass tenders, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of salmon. Most of the salmon y'all motherfuckers are eating.
Not even salmon.
Not even salmon. Enjoy your tilapia, Zach. What did you want?
I just wonder if there's a silver lining to this.
That's because we do have 5 minutes.
If there's a limited amount of resources for in-stream media, and advertisers want it, and maybe there's going to be some prioritization of creating more channels, of more content, of more reasons for people to take in new media, creativity, film, what have you. Maybe we'll see outpouring of different channels that can create.
Oh, yes, Zach. Yes, that will happen. So if you go back to my slides to put them up, I'll just I'll kind of go really quickly here. Basically, I think we're going to see, we've basically treated media like an undifferentiated commodity, and that's not right. And what I think is going to happen is you're going to see this decommoditization where most media will be valued based on 2 dimensions: how high attention the ads are, the placements are. They're more intrusive, but they're higher attention. Sound is on, you're more likely to see them, versus low attention, these adjacent ads. And then whether there's a rich audience data and signals. It doesn't have to be a cookie or first party audience like an email, but that website has higher audience value for you as a customer. And so you're going to see a vastly different sort of makeup in each one of these quadrants, because high attention with high value audiences really high demand. Everyone wants that, but the supply is so scarce and so finite. And so that stuff is going to get really expensive. It's going to get significant, twice as expensive as it is today. Most of it's going to be bought in reservations or guaranteed. And then you're going to see sort of a blend here, things that are high attention, but don't have a lot of audience data attached. A big banner right out of home, or the other way where you have some audience signal that you know somebody is really valuable, but it's a 300 by 250. It's not sort of really intrusive, but it's still good to sort of continue exposing them to your ad. And then you've got the lowest quality stuff on the bottom left, 20 ads on the page. You don't know who they are. You've never heard of this publisher. That stuff is going to be pennies. It's going to get really cheap. And I think this is going to create an opportunity for publishers, for content creators that can create, either capture more audience data or create higher attention ads that people actually will notice.
Damn, son. Okay, so if I'm small to medium business, those are my jams. That's my marketing. I work with those people. What's your advice to them? And then Jay would want to know what the enterprise, what the leader people, the leader types, what should they do? So, okay, first talk to the small and the mediums, and then give me some enterprise tips. Advice right now.
It's kind of the same for both, which is stop overpaying for crap, right? Stop overvaluing signals just because it says it's in stream. Don't overpay for it just because it says there's a cookie with some audience. It probably isn't. It probably doesn't match. And so that applies to both. I think the difference between SMB and enterprise is most enterprises have to think in terms of short and long term. SMBs sometimes only have the short term, right? They're just trying to hit their numbers. And so it's a little bit different there. I think that the tough thing for everyone, for marketing, the biggest challenge is most ads have value in both the short and long term. And the challenge that we have is not giving too much, not focusing too much on the short term, the click, and instead of the long term. I'll take a click. If I get clicks, even 1% clicks, valuable, but it's misleading. If you spend too much, if you say, what if the 99% that didn't get clicked on, they're wasted, or they're all worth the same, some other number, that's bad. And so thinking about how do you assign value to both any short-term impact that you got, but also the long-term for pretty much every single ad. And that's something enterprises can do a lot more easily than SMBs.
I want to remind everyone that advertising is one part of the marketing mix.
No.
Yes.
Is that
just one P?
Yes, it's one. It's not, and it's part of the P. It's not even the whole P. Yeah. So okay, Erez, if you were given an assignment and you had to reach a short-term sales lift, what would you suggest based on your vantage point?
Sorry, I had to say it depends. I mean, how niche is my audience? Am I just reaching people who are in the market for a car?
It's one guy.
How big of a lift do I need? Do I need to reach just people like sell cars today? Then I have
a possible client that I'm working with. He invented a ADHD toy called the Pinchy.
Oh, right.
And I wrote about him. He's doing great. He's doing TikTok live. He's doing a lot of good stuff on TikTok. Is there any sort of, do you believe that any of these sort of remnant media types would result in any success for this guy selling his $12 Pinchy device or
Sounds like a social media thing for me. That's an Instagram and TikTok for the most part.
Right.
Well, Erez, I'm just so thankful. I think the reason why he's an exciting person to follow is because he's talking about the place where you put all your creative ideas. And he's talking about the home that features your ads, the places that will show your quality advertisement. He's trying to advocate for a world where that stuff is quality. What we need to do is fill it with quality stuff. I think if quality matters on that end, then it has to matter on our end. So, and it sucks because I hate it. Like actually taking all the advice that I give out, it's painful. I'm going to let you know it's painful because I was like, oh, I tell people all this, and then you're like, well, what about you? What are you doing? And you're like, ignoring most of it. So I think if you could just take one thing away is just be aware that the quality is not the same. You really have to vet the stuff, but if you can, be strong, be brave, make something cool, and then come hang out with some people. Talk to friends. Don't chat GPT anything this weekend. Touch some grass. Touch your friends in an appropriate way. God, we're gonna have to delete that. Are we still alive?
We are still live, and you always have a Jakeism.
Help me.
I think for like next birthday, and by the way, happy birthday, Jake. You celebrated a birthday this week,
Cinco
right?
de Mayo.
Yes.
Oh, happy birthday.
Hey,
For next birthday, we're going to make a compilation of all your Jakeisms.
okay.
I'm sad. I was going over some of them, and I was
I'm really impressed how I've heard zero. Are you trying to censor yourself now? Have we asked Jace to tone it down on the fucks
There's
of the
no
mother?
censorship. As a matter of fact, we published an article that had "fucking" in the title.
that was Jason, and I didn't do
First
that.
time I've been in a call that you haven't used the word motherfucker.
You know what? I've been trying to do more video, and I look at myself, and it's I'm my hands are all, and I was like, so I'm trying to bring it down a notch, but we'll say some fucking Zach.
Good, thank you. I needed that.
Okay, cool. Anyway, man, we all have to connect with Erez because he's out here sharing this stuff, and if we can retweet it, I think we'll save money. We'll bring some accountability to an industry that desperately needs it.
Yeah. No one really watches this live, but what happens is after I'm going to make a wrap of the whole thing, take some of the notes and details, put it into the YouTube description. I'll put Erez's details, and we'll get some attention for this, and maybe we'll make some clips and
make some clippies.
Yeah, it's all good.
So excellent. Erez, you're invited whenever you want, brother. Like, come hang out with us. We're always
good vibes here. I love it. I got more stuff, so happy to always come chat.
I know. I'm so sorry. We went on.
No.
AI
This is
therapy.
good. This is a teaser. This is the right teaser.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm going to be doing a podcast with him too. So we're gonna do that.
Go deep.
Zach, fuck yeah.
You guys.
Yes, Jay. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone had a good weekend.
I'd be
Bye
good.
bye, everyone.
Thanks all.
Peace.
Bye.